Hey everyone, Lucky from Ipd here. Today we're out in Ipd's service shop. We're going to do our boost gauge install on this 2001 V70. This install will cover the S60, V70, S80, and XC90 models for turbos. Now there's a number of different ways to install these gauges. We're going to show you one way today that we found is real easy.
To begin, let's start by removing the two outer Phillips head screws from the gauge. Now take the two included standoffs and lock washers and install them in place of the screws. Install the compression fitting and ferrule to the line as shown and attach to the back of the gauge. And now tighten the fitting as shown. Now take the wiring harness included with the gauge and strip off the end of the black wire. Fold over the end of the wire and insert it into the ring terminal. Then crimp it snugly. Now install the wiring harness to the back of the gauge, noting it can only be connected in one direction. Now feed the wiring and the tubing into the pod and insert the gauge. Take the included mounting bracket and lay it on the back of the gauge on top of the standoffs. Then insert the lock washers in between the bracket itself and the standoff. Then install the screw through the bracket, the lock ring, and into the standoff. With the bracket assembled and the screws in place, you can now tighten it down using a Phillips head screwdriver.
Okay, now with your tubing and pod, let's go ahead and put it on the dashboard and route the tubing. We don't want to fasten it down or adhere it down to the dashboard just yet until we get all of our lines and electrical run. Now let's go ahead and take off our fuse panel cover. And let's pull off a little bit of our trim. All right, now with the fuse box cover off, we can pull this little plug right out of here. And that's where we're going to route our tubing through. Okay, with the foam plug out of the way, we want to go ahead and poke our boost gauge tubing through it, and then we're going to feed it into the hole that the plug came out of. Door open, we can see the side A-pillar plug. We're going to go ahead and pull that out now. Plug, and pull that guy right out of there.
Feed the tubing into the hole and pull through the remaining slack. Take the previously removed A-pillar plug and poke a hole through it so that you can feed the boost tubing into the plug. Now run the plug down along the tubing and reinsert it back into the A-pillar. Route the tubing behind the fender so that it exits under the hood near the hood hinge. Pull the line through, but take caution to route the tubing behind the hinge so that it isn't damaged when the hood opens and closes. Now assemble the compression connection with the ferrule and the brass connection fitting, along with the plastic fitting that's included in the kit. With the connection assembled, you can now tighten it using the appropriate wrenches, using just light force. Only need to compress them so that they seal. Now locate and cut the pressurized manifold line as shown and install each of the spring clips onto each end of the line. Now install the plastic barb fitting into each of the lines. Now, returning to the fuse box opening on the left side of the dashboard, remove the lower 10mm bolt as shown. Insert the bolt through the ring terminal and then reinstall to its original location. Using the included wire and terminal connector, strip away a portion of the end of the wire, insert it into the terminal, and crimp it firmly. Now strip away the end of the red wire coming off of our wiring harness from the gauge, fold over the end and slide it into the terminal, crimping it firmly. The red wire provides backlighting to the gauge. The white wire is a dimming wire which can be connected additionally if you find that the gauge is too bright for your nighttime driving. When the white wire is connected to a power supply, it dims the gauge output by 50%. Now take the opposite end of the red wire and feed it into the fuse box opening and down behind the lower bolster. Now turn the key to position 2 and move the park selector out of the way. Using a bone tool, remove the pin holder just below the climate control module. For models without pin holder, simply pry up the surrounding shifter bezel. Using a Torx 25 driver, remove the 2 Torx 25 screws from underneath the climate control module and pull it forward. Now, using a bone tool, gently pry the climate control module forward at the top away from the audio module. Now we'll drop down to the center console on the left side and release the clip holding the side cover in place and remove it. Now we'll continue routing the wire over the bolster cover, being careful not to get it caught up in the brake or gas pedal. Now route the wire up into the climate control opening in the dashboard and pull it through. Now locate the purple wire on the back of the cigarette lighter and install the scotch lock connector onto it. Insert the red wire into the scotch lock connector and using a pair of pliers, compress the metal splice. Then fold the cover over the connector. Now reinstall the climate control unit back into the dash opening. And install the 2 Torx 25 screws into the bottom of the climate control unit. Now reinstall the pin holder below the climate control module. Now reinstall the body seal, the fuse cover panel, and the driver's side center console cover that we removed earlier. At this time you can install the gauge trim as well as the double back tape, tuck the boost tubing and wiring into the A-pillar, and install the pod onto the dashboard. With the gauge installed, confirm the needle operation and the backlighting with the key in the on and off positions. Now that your boost gauge is installed, you can monitor the performance of the engine as well as potential issues like vacuum leaks that can arise as maintenance items wear out. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call our customer service line at 1-800-444-6473 or see us on the web at ipdusa.com.